Welcome everybody, my name is François for D30, and yeah, well, I have a question, okay? I want you to figure out a game that is similar to the one I will describe to you. My last video in English was about role-playing with kids, and it was especially more about Hero Kids, but just to continue on with what I'm doing with kids, well, for older kids, my usual game is a French game called Tranchons et Traquons. Okay, which is a free game that you can find on the internet. I may put the link, if you want to Google translate the document, maybe you will figure out what kind of role-playing game this is. And this is a special role-playing game, okay? It's not, there are some unusual things in it. So, and well, it's made, it's not a game for kids, but it works very well for kids, and I use that for kids 9 through 14-year-old. This is the group of age I'm aiming. But right now in the group, in my regulars that are coming to the library to play this game, I have some 15 and 16-year-old kids joining the table because they enjoy the game. So that game is special, okay? The setup of the game is, well, kind of classic role-playing game. You have the game master and the players, okay? The classic, setup. It's not a narrative, no GM game or something like that. It's just, okay? But the game is very special, okay? How can I put it? You have to choose a race, okay? The race, you can have, dwarf, elves, okay? This is a fantasy game. You can have kind of an half animal type of race that are available, and some weird ones, okay? Probably from the imagination of the creator of the game, okay? All races come with some sort of a feats. Let's call that the feats, something special that they do. And basically that's that. They're coming with one thing, okay? After that you choose a class, okay? There's our character classes that may seem similar to what you have, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons, but it's more broad. Okay, the classes comes with a flaw, but comes with a choice of other feats that may represent that class. Okay, so feats may be like for a warrior, let's say he's able to damage many targets of the same type with one blow, or stuff like that. He can, well, I'm trying to think of some of the feats. Let's say the thief, okay, the thief can steal a small object with no roll. He succeeds at automatically, okay? They come with some sort of a feats like that, and some objects, okay, that may be special. Once you chose that, you have 6 basic attributes, okay? The attributes are between 2 and I think 4, yeah, or 1. Oh man, I'm confused. And okay, it's between 1 and 4. Okay, you have you have one at 4, 1 at 3, 2 at 2, and 2 at 1. Of course, the highest is the better. Basic. The basic attributes is kind agility, combat, cleverness, okay, your personality, influence, it's called influence, yeah. You have kind of your strength and survival, okay? These are the 6 basic attributes. From that comes other attributes that, well, you can figure out your hit points. You have an armor class. Everyone has the same armor class. Number is 2. You have the damage in combat, which is based upon your combat score, and you have a destiny track, which starts at 0. Destiny, when you add up destiny points, okay, when you come at 5 destiny points, the game is over for you. What does destiny represent? It's every time you die, yeah, that is strange like that, or a companion of your group is dying, you gain 1 destiny point. Kind of a shock, okay? Right? What else? Once you determine that, you create an advantage which has a score equal to your influence, and that advantage can be anything. You just create that. It's part of your background. You can say, I'm part of a prestigious guild, and okay, if you follow me in that, it can be anything. You can create whatever you can, and basically your character is done. Okay, this is very simple to do. Okay, how the game system works? Well, it's 2d6, and you have to reach 8 or more to succeed in an action. The game master don't roll any dices. Okay, this is a GM no dice game. Okay, it's only the players that are rolling, which is great because you can't fudge the dice. Okay, you set up a difficulty before rolling the dice. That is a very important thing into that game system. Before rolling the dice, okay, the player says what he wants to achieve. We feel the need that some dice might have to be rolled. Well, the GM will tell you what is the consequence of a failure. Okay, if you fail, here's what will happen. So you have a glimpse of the future if you fail. It can be gaining a new flaw. It can be a loss of hit points. It can be a bad situation happening in the game. It can be anything. So the game master, there's no, you know, you can't fudge a situation because before the dice are rolled, you're just setting up what is the challenge, the upcoming challenge. And the player will roll the dice, usually will use one of his basic attribute to add to the result. The game master may add a modifier if it's something very difficult to do, so with some minuses, or if it's very easy, can give a bonus. And the players, if he really wants to succeed something, can help himself with some, well, maybe some feats he has that is related to what he's doing. He may use his advantage, you know, the advantage that you create. If you do that, you do cross an X, okay? So the advantage is used only once per game session. And he can use some of his special objects. In his list of equipment, there are objects that you can write in a separate list that are mundane objects, but your special sword that was given to you by your father is very special. And like an advantage, once per game, you can cross an X beside the object, will give you a +2, but you have to ask the player, okay, why this object is helping you right now. It's like having the cool moment of that object at that exact moment will give you a bonus. Okay? The flaw. There are two ways to use the flaw. Either the game master will call upon the flaw. You have a flaw that is appropriate, the game master says, okay, but you, because of that flaw, you have -4. Okay, a flaw gives you -4 to the roll. So the game master can call upon the flaw because he finds that it's appropriate in the story right now. Or, and then we'll come to another game mechanic, the players decide himself to give the flaw. He decide, it's not the game master that is calling upon the flaw, it's the players who makes himself go into the flaw, gives himself, you know, go into the -4. And it gives him a little gift. What is that gift? Well, this is another game mechanic that is coming in Tranchons and Traquons. You have a set of cards, okay? Cards with rules changers, event changers that you pass upon the players. You know, everyone gets a card at the start of the game. For some reasons, they may have another card to start the game with, okay? And those cards are stuff like, you succeed automatically your next roll. All the monsters in the combat are one level higher of difficulty, but everyone gets a free card. One NPC fall in love with one of the PC, okay? And okay, these are all sorts of cards. There are 27 of them. So you give some cards that at any moment, any players can play his card, and the card overcomes anything the GM has come with. Okay, this is very exciting. So, coming back to the flaw, if he uses a flaw on himself, the player will get a card. And talking about having gift, well, this is kind of a reward for anything that is cool. Okay, making a cool move, give a card. Making a great joke, giving a card. Okay, anything that is outstanding in the game, the player will get a card, and that he can play them whenever he wants. This is a very dynamic game. The combat, how it works, well, this part is very abstract. Okay, you have a number of hit points. The enemies, since the game master rolls no dice, the enemies is simply a modifier to the dice roll. Okay, when you get into combat, the player will say, well, I'll try to hit this enemy, and you check out the modifier of the enemy, and then you say what the enemy is trying to do. And you know, if the player fails, he will lose a number of hit points. If he succeeds, the enemy will lose a number of hit points. Equal to the damage score of the player, and whatever the weapon he has in hand. That is the special part, okay? You can have a player with a fire-throwing machine gun or just a kitchen knife. He will do the same amount of damage. It's more about what you do with it, how you describe what you do with it, that may have an effect. Well, if you don't attack directly someone, you're trying more to do an effect, then it will have, you know, a logical consequence. Otherwise, this is a fixed amount of damage. So the players needs to be creative in order to use that game properly. Every time a player loses hit points, he may choose to use his armor. Like I said, he has 2 points in armor. Maybe some feats can give him another point. But basically, all the characters have 2 points of armor. And every time he loses hit points, he can decide to use 1 point of the armor instead, which will negate all of the damage he may receive. And he can do that 2 times per game sessions, which is quite an edge, because sometimes, you know, you can fall, fall from a building and, maybe kill yourself in the fall, but you use your armor and then you're safe. But I have to ask the player, well, what did happen? Why are you still alive? Okay, stuff like that. This is basically how it works in that game. This is very dynamic, and what I love about this game, Tranchons and Traquons, it's not the best game system that I ever played, but it has its charm. It's very well made, and what I like about this, especially in the context of a library, when you can have players that are regulars and others that you will see only once, is that every time someone comes to a session, he will, by the end of it, he will say to himself, well, today I have played and something happened, okay? Because the game will help you, the way the sheet and the advantage and the object and the way the game is set up is that you feel that you can do something in the game. You can bring, you can make something positive out of the game. You will participate, okay? But this is not a game to play. Well, you can't play the character in a very, very long term, okay? At some point, either by adding up too much destiny points, or there's a limit of the number of feats you can have and the number of attributes that you can raise, because you can raise your attributes every adventure if you want. You can gain something. There's some sort of evolution for the character, but there's a limit of the evolution, and that when you reach that limit, well, the character is getting his retirement. So it's not a game made for the long run, but all the while you played, well, you played. You did live the day all the while. Okay, this is a very intense game, and the kids are loving it. Okay, it's very dynamic, and the cards really changes the way it works, the surprise that it brings. Yeah, this is a very, very exciting game, and that was my question to start with. Is there any games like that in English? Because if don't, well, I'm sorry for you. You're missing something here. You're missing quite a crazy game. A crazy game that works well, that is well taught, and fits the needs of my library sessions. It's the best game I ever found. Okay, don't try to convince me that Dungeons and Dragons will do it. No, because Dungeons and Dragons, even though this is a good game, okay, I don't have nothing against D&D, but you can't satisfy people fully in a library context unless you do it weekly, which is not the case for me. But you know, D&D, if you want to gain experience and levels, you need to play a couple of times, okay, and to see your character make an evolution and all that. And the player that is coming only once, well, yeah, I feel that it needs a little more to give him the impression that he's doing something in the game, okay? While in Tranchons and Traquons, well, you don't have any choice. If you got to participate in the game, roll the dice, at some point your flaw which will have, you will have to use your advantage. You have to use your feat that is very clear what it's doing. Okay? You have your moves, okay? So that's why this game wins the contest of what I need into the activity I'm offering to kids. So when I've made so much, you know, I've made an approximate explanation of what is Tranchons and Traquons. I will put a link below of that game if you want to check this out and well, maybe answer the question. I may be curious. I'm not well, I'm not shopping for a new game. Okay, I just want to see if there's any games that looks like that, with all the dynamics, you know, the cards and, you know, the way it's set up. Maybe that does exist. Well, he cites, you know, the author is citing many inspiration by the start of the book, but you know, there's D&D in there, okay? There's a Dungeon World, okay? But I know those games, and it's not that much similar to Tranchons and Traquons. You know, he's probably taking ideas from everywhere and just made a new game with, I feel, a fresh approach to it. Good. So enough of that. François Letarte, JDR D30, and up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as